What um, what do you think about the housing market nationally?
Well, tell me after we change the Fed chairman and we look at the yield curve. If we get lower short-term rates and the yield curve backs up, I don't like the housing market because the 10-year is going to drive the housing market. But you see what he did? They're using rental information now for borrowers. Did you see that?
No. Well, yes, yes, yes. Where you could use your
Yeah,
rent,
rent
which
history.
logic.
Yeah,
That's that makes sense,
yeah, they should have done it a long time ago.
right?
Well, that's a boost to the housing market.
Is that
Renters are now
official?
going to start to look good.
Is that
I thought it was
official?
official. I thought
Okay.
it was official.
I saw it floated the other day, and I said, "Geez, yeah, they should have been doing that a long time ago." You hear people saying this all the time. You know,
Yeah,
I spend $2,500 a month on rent. Why can't I spend 2,200 on a mortgage?
yeah. And if you're going to rent an apartment, you need
Yeah,
3 months, 1 month, 1 month down payment, security, and you're talking about 3 months. That's a down payment on a small condo.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that could help the housing market. That's a good example of cutting red.
Welcome back, everybody, to Markets and Madness, the place where we discuss the madness that occurs when economics, politics, and personalities all move in different directions. Tim and I have been enjoying summer, but we're back. How are you, Tim?
Pretty good, Fred. Um, Nice to be back here in Florida, where it rains
Yeah.
every day.
So, what are you thinking? It's been I guess a week or two since we've done this. The markets
Okay.
seem to be not telling us much, but there are a lot of things going on.
Well, I would say to you, that sometimes I I under appreciate the level and the magnitude of what they're trying to do here. I don't think in all the years I've been in markets, and that's really since the late 60s, I've seen this much of an attempt to change things. And it's not going to happen lightly, you know. We've been pretty much entrenched. I mean, human beings have a way of adapting to situations, whatever they are. Now, you're a migrant and you have nothing, and you cross the border and you're being trafficked and you owe a cartel and you spend 3 months in some kind of meatpacking plant or something, and half of your money is going to pay your debt to the cartel, and somehow you start to believe that this is okay. you know, you adjust to it, and when somebody
Right.
tries to change it or turn it around, you fight it. And what went on in I guess it was Los Angeles this week, where the attacks on the ICE
The
and the
ICE
border
agents.
patrol. I mean, it's really unbelievable. You know how we've come to accept that it's perfectly fine to have 15 million or 14 million people, however many million people, floating around. We don't know who they are. We know that a lot of them have warrants out for murder and different things, and we're fighting to keep them here. This is It's kind of, there's a level of insanity that I don't think we can appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, if the number is 15 million or if the number is 10 million, and and half of those are good, hardworking people that are pure and do, the other half is still pretty evil, you know. And how do you figure it out? So I see your point. Um, yeah,
You know,
it's
we've
going to take
got
a
a
while to
law,
get around. Yeah,
and the law says, okay, I mean, we've created this kind of system here where there's us, and we tax and get provide for ourselves. And if you just lift open the gate and let, you know, 5% of the population in, what's 10% of 300 million is 30 million. we're talking about really 5% of the of the population, slip in the gates and say, all right, this is we're going to just lean into that, and you got to absorb another 5% in your overtaxed infrastructures, in your highways, in your police patrol, in your emergency rooms.
Just think of it, I mean, and this analogy just hit me as you're speaking, like diluting stock. You know, you buy stock in a company, and all of a sudden they float another 10% more shares or 5% more shares in the company with nothing else. Your value of your shares have gone down.
Yeah, or looking at it another way, in the honeymooners, Norton came in and filled up water and said, I got to go upstairs and stretch the soup. And we're stretching the soup here to levels that, and a big percentage of the population seems to be just fine with that. And I guess that would be okay. You could mark it off to saying, okay, let's just be kind to other humans. You know, we're letting them in and they didn't have it good and they're fleeing. But what about that 5% of them or 10% of them that are really animals that are paying, and the whole system is being stretched to support the cartels and this fentanyl coming into the borders, and people are just blind to it and they just don't want to see it. It's really shocking, you know. When I saw the picture of that guy shooting at the ice guys, and they were throwing bricks and rocks at the. This is we've gone from protests to revolution.
And just go back to, what happened during the virus, um, and what happened in Seattle, taking over police precincts. You If you didn't think that was crazy enough, the protesters took over police precincts and the police ran away because
Yeah,
they weren't allowed to do anything. Society has really gone a different way
yeah.
lately.
So we've gone. There's a fine line between protests and revolution, and this talk about insurrection. I mean, this
And I
is
was thinking about it this morning about, you know, um, how liberals view the world, how conservatives view the world. And we always look at it as us and them. And that's really been the focal point of where things have gone wrong because it should be we. It shouldn't be us and them. You shouldn't be pointing fingers because, the left, to me, has a feeling of superiority that they know better than everyone and the ends justify the means. These are all things we've spoken about in the past. And regardless of what you say and how you say it, it doesn't matter because they're right.
so. Let's stretch down here and say, what does this mean for markets? Suppose you were trading the German stock market and you saw insurrection and threats to the German Constitution and German laws. I mean, you get the hell out of there. So this has to have an impact on the markets if it continues.
I don't know. I mean, the markets keep going up. They defy logic. They defy reason. I've been looking for a move down in stocks, and the reason why that stocks went down last week was because of the tariffs again. You know what Trump is doing is Trump is doing. It's wrong. It's wrong. And I don't know if the tariffs are going to be the right result in the long term or not. But you know, I see your point. I understand. The more the worse things get in terms of this public infighting that we're having. It's really
Well, do you
stressful.
remember around 2000, must have been 2007 or 2008, when Greece was in the papers and then we had a flash crash? Somebody threw a Molotov cocktail and the markets just collapsed and dropped like 6% in minutes. I remember trading through that. And as soon as that Molotov cocktail, I was watching CNBC, and as soon as that Molotov cocktail hit, the market just plunged. And they called it a flash crash. And we could be, it's not a reach to say that we could see an unraveling of all confidence in this markets, you know? And these markets feel, the capital markets feel that we're in control and everything's fine. But when it starts to look like a revolution, am I just going too far afield here?
I think you are. And, once again, it's perspective. I think the conservatives think if we have a meltdown, it's going to be because of your reasoning. And the liberals feel if we're going to have a meltdown, it's because Trump has trashed the Constitution. Right. So to me, either way you look at it, I think the odds are that we're going to have a big sell off.
Hmm. Well, um, the last time the country felt this way to me was during the Vietnam War.
Hmm.
I remember I was working for Schroeder's on 61 Broadway, and I walked out and I saw construction workers coming uh, down Broadway from their work on the World Trade Center. The protesters were moving up Broadway, heading north, and I was right in the middle of a riot. And I really wondered, whether or not the country could survive at that point. And
That was early 70s, right? 71, 72,
I think it was late 60s.
late 60s.
Yeah, I'm going to say 68, 69.
Okay.
And it feels that way to me. I mean, and CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, they didn't cover that footage of what happened, of what we saw in Fox. And so, half the country is looking at it and focusing on it, and the other half of the country is probably not even aware it happened. This is crazy. This is really
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have a lot more info now than we did in the late 60s, early 70s. And the people that are in tune are questioning. And as I said, they're questioning both sides. The left feels this is a Nazi regime that's taking over, dragging people out of their homes. That's their view of the world. And the right thinks that there's no order, there's no semblance of order in the country. So I go back to my point that both sides are very angry, and that's leading to something that we don't want to see.
That's really not a healthy
No.
political environment in which to invest. And this could have, it hasn't had an impact so far. Um, but
Well, the
it,
dollar's been getting hit. The dollar's been getting hit, but that's more tariff related than socio-political factors.
yeah, yeah. Well, the dollar, to me, the dollar's built a base. I think the dollar's doesn't have much downside from here. I'd rather buy it than sell it if you put a gun to my head.
I think the dollar could have a short cover rally, but for all the reasons you mentioned, I think the dollar could be in trouble. There's a lot of talk that I was reading things yesterday and this morning that Powell's going to resign, that the Federal Home Loan Board put something out that Powell should resign. And I was telling someone this morning, I said, if Powell does resign, I think the market's going to get really hit. I think stocks are going to get trashed. What do you think?
Well, Powell resigns means the market's going to assume it's a puppet that's put in its
Right.
place, the Fed. That means a steeper curve. It means sharply lower rates. Now, I think rates could drop organically 0.5%, short-term rates. I don't see any reason why he has to be firm here. He believes that the tariffs are inflationary, I guess. And I keep hearing, oh, well, he was wrong. Well, I don't think the tariffs have hit yet. I don't think we've really seen the impact of the tariffs, but they're perfectly willing to say tariffs have not been inflationary, and I don't think they've been felt yet.
Yeah. But Powell has been wrong on the last four directional moves of interest rates.
He's been a lousy Fed chairman, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was late, transitory. Then he had to tighten drastically, because he hadn't moved quick enough. He hasn't been a good Fed chairman, and I think rates could afford to drop 50 basis points without stimulating inflation because you got a really good real rate of return here. Your rates, your rates adjusted for inflation are still probably core inflation, what, 2.5%, 3%, probably is close to that, with short-term rates floating around 4. You know, you got 1%. I don't think a zero real rate is a good thing, but you got to have at least 25 to 50 basis points. So I think there's a little room.
I'm not as concerned about what inflation is now and where rates could be now. I'm more concerned about what the perception would be for the Fed as a whole if Powell is pushed out, let's put it. I think there could be, I think the markets will gulp and say, "Oh, this is not good."
Yeah, it's got a Banana Republic feel to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then there's been a lot of press about all of this Epstein stuff that it was kicked under the carpet. I've seen the reports. I haven't seen the reports. I've seen the list. I haven't seen the list. How could you put Ghislaine in jail when there's no crime committed? There's no, there's all these things that go back and forth, and we're going to cover, we're not going to cover anything up. We're going to be transparent, and you find out.
These are shiny objects, but they're enough to widen the split that we have. And that's the problem. We got a blue nation and a red nation here.
Well, to me, the concern more is, we talked 6 months ago about he's got 18 months to get his overall view in place, and there's going to be the midterms that are going to come up. Well, now we're a year from the midterms, and he could lose the base with this, right?
Yeah, I guess he could. Um, I guess he could, but I think the country really didn't want to see where we were going with Biden.
I don't disagree with that, but they all expected. There's certain things that he ran on that um, haven't come to fruition. And granted, ending the Ukraine war is not in his. It's not his call. Right? He's not able to do that and live with it. But that's here we are 6 months later, and the Ukraine war is still going on. Um, this whole thing with Epstein, we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to be very transparent. Pam Bondi, we're going to start to arrest people. I haven't seen any of it. And I think that's what the base was looking at. The hardcore right conservative, that's what they were looking for. So I'm
Yeah,
afraid
but
to lose the base.
the mainstream media, and I hesitate to use that word, but there really is a mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how successful the guy is. I mean, he was very successful his first term, and they were just willing to ignore it. So he's had a lot of good news. I mean, he's got energy prices down, he's got inflation down, he's got everybody talking. The trade figures are going to sharply improve from the tariffs. I don't really think the tariffs are going to hurt at all. I think they'll help. I think they'll help the debt. He's got this win in Iran. He's got the Middle East in large part buttoned up here.
Cleaned up. Yeah, I don't know if it's buttoned up. I still think there's sparks around the edges, but yeah.
Well, there is, but the Abraham Accord looks like it's going to happen, and that's a big deal.
The other thing that bothers me where he could lose the base is people that supported Trump that went out and pushed for him, like Elon, like Tucker Carlson. They made a big push and they have a base, and he's just dismissed them, and it scares me because I don't know who the Democrats are going to put up. We're still a ways from that.
Well, let's just paraphrase. It's the economy, stupid. Remember?
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the major impetus. And what he's done hasn't hit this economy yet. He's got the tax cuts now. He's got the debate, the enticement for foreign investment. People could come in and write off the plant
But
and
is
equipment.
but is that going to be felt in the next 8, 10 months, 12 months? I don't know.
It might take that long, but yeah, but maybe not in the next 3 months. But you're going to feel it soon. Um, I mean, he's in office now. What? 4 months? 5 months? 5 months?
6, 6,
Yeah,
January to July.
I guess 6. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he had Israel to deal with and Iran. That was a big deal. But yeah, okay. So let's say it takes another 6 months to hit, probably 2 quarters. You got to give you got to give the action 2 quarters
You know,
to be felt.
all of this money he's got coming in from foreign, so it's going to take years for that to really, what Obama had called shovel-ready projects. It's going to take years for that money to
Well,
really
he's cut the
start.
red tape. He's cut the red tape.
Yeah,
The Babylon Bee a couple last week ran something that said that had an article that Trump is considering becoming a judge to have power to influence the country. So they've pulled out all the stops and and the Supreme Court's backed him because the Constitution is backing him. He really has followed the Constitution, even though they're quick to say he hasn't. He really has, or at least in my view, he does. And the lawyers I talk to seem to think he has. But all of this is churning, and we're in that period where you're shoveling out the barn and your hands are getting dirty and it's an awful smell and you're filling up trash bags. This is
yeah.
a dirty job, and it's going to take more than just a couple of weeks to turn things around. And this is a
Okay.
very impatient country.
So, where are we now in the Dow? What are we at? 40? Um,
All-time highs is where we are.
okay. And the S&P at like 625, right? The Dow at was a 40,000, 42,000. Where's the next 5%, up or down?
I think down for the reasons we've outlined.
Yeah,
And I
me too.
think this is just a gut punch and a social reaction to the environment. I don't think it has a lot to do with economics here.
What do you think about the housing market nationally?
Well, tell me after we change the Fed chairman and we look at the yield curve. If we get lower short-term rates and the yield curve backs up, I don't like the housing market because the 10-year is going to drive the housing market. But you see what he did? They're using rental information now for borrowers. Did you see that?
No. Oh, yes, 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 where you could use your
Yeah.
rent,
Rent
which
history.
logic.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they should have done it a long time ago.
Right.
Well, that's a boost to the housing market.
Is that
Renters are now
official?
going to start to look good.
Is that
I thought it was
official?
official. I thought
Okay.
it was official.
I saw it floated the other day, and I said, geez, yeah, they should have been doing that a long time ago. You hear people saying this all the time. You know,
Yeah,
I spend $2,500 a month on rent. Why can't I spend 2,200 on a mortgage?
yeah.
Right?
And if you're going to rent an apartment, you need
Yeah,
3 months, 1 month,
yeah,
1 month down payment, security, and
yeah.
you're talking about 3 months. That's a down payment on a small condo.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that could help the housing market. That's a good example of cutting red tape.
Yeah, that's going to be a big help. I agree with that, and that's long overdue. We've heard that argument from first-time buyers for a long time. So hopefully that comes around. And
Economically, there's a lot of good things in place. A problem is the social fabric here, and that's the lousy feelings we get, losing the base. It's political, and it's the social environment that's the negative on this market. So if focus shifts from economic to social and political, then this market's going down. So it's a question of focus.
and I don't know who the Democrats would run. He's still got 3.5 years in his term, but we've always been concerned about the midterms, and I don't know where those key races are that are up for grabs that we could lose. But if the Republicans lose the House, and
Yeah, we're gonna
another,
wait. We got a little while before that kicks in, though.
yeah, I saw another Republican was resigning, retiring. It really narrows the. There's really very the
Senate
advantage
or
is very
House?
slim. Yeah,
Senate or House?
I think it was the House. I think it was the House.
And they're facing the redistricting in Texas too. That's going to hurt the Republicans.
Yeah,
Yeah, the political environment's not good. The social environment's not good. The economic environment is strong and getting better. So that's where we are. Take
yeah.
your pick as to what market focus is going to be, I think.
Yeah, once again, we've talked about this a lot as well, is you pick your sectors and then you use options to either get into positions or protect yourself as insurance to get out of positions. That's what I've been doing. You know, April, May, the whole big sell-off that we've had, you and I both fared pretty well through that. And a lot of people are back. People who held course, they did fine as well, you know. Yeah. So you could say that that's the case, but I don't.
The
I
other
don't.
interesting thing that we haven't mentioned was, you hear about this rare earth find in Wyoming? Big, big rare earth deposit find in Wyoming. And one of the problems with rare earth is it's dirty to get out of the ground. So the red tape that he's eliminating will help bring that to the market. And
That's
that's a
is
big
that
boost in technologies.
is that Lee Zeldin? Is that his area?
Yeah,
Department
yeah, it
of
would be.
Interior?
Well, he's energy, right? Well, who's
Energy?
energy?
No,
Bergdahl. Bergdahl is
yeah,
interior.
I'm not sure.
They've, the cabinet, they're all the same way. They're all cutting red tape. So a rare earth find 2 years ago would have never seen the light of day, but it will now. It's a crazy environment. I
Yeah.
wish I wish it could be more prescient, but it's too big a split here, and it's just a question of, I keep seeing that Molotov cocktail in Greece and watching the market flash crash, and that could have happened the other day at that marijuana farm. I mean, talk about illegals and 14-year-old kids working that farm. You know, uh,
Hmm.
this is really a terrible environment. I mean, these kids are being sexually trafficked. Man, this is not humane at all.
We're not doing anybody any favors by taking them here. Their existence had to be pretty horrible if this is what they're looking forward to. And I don't believe it was as bad as what some of these people are running into. All right.
Okay.
Well, it was a good chatting, good catching up. Tough topic, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it.
Okay, you be good. We'll talk to you
All
soon.
right, Tim. Thanks. Yep.